This is Fantasy Intervention. Now here to intervene with your fantasy life, Chase Vernon.
What's going on, guys? Welcome on into Fantasy Intervention. We have yet another show coming at you guys. Coming at you quick, hard, fast, all the way around. And of course, I can't do it by myself. Well, I can, but it's not nearly as good. So I had to bring some friends in with me today. We got Matt Miller in the house with us. And I'm absolutely awed right now. This is amazing. What's going on, Matt? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, and you guys are going to give me an ego, so appreciate that. Great way to start the show. I like that all these Packers fans will allow 49ers fan to come on their podcast. So thank you, guys. It's definitely going to be a fun experience for me, I'm sure.
Oh, man. You want to tell everybody where they can find you real quick and what you do?
Yeah, so I used to be at Bleacher Report, 10 years there, kind of helped build that company and build out what they do covering the NFL and the NFL draft, and decided that it would be a little bit more fun and challenging to try my own thing. So I recently launched a website called thedraftscout.com. And it will be just like hardcore draft analysis, 365 days a year. The best way I've explained this recently, at least, is that at Bleacher Report, there's a ton of super talented people doing a lot of things, whether that's video, audio, podcast, written work. And if a guy like myself can get lost in the shuffle a little bit because the draft is not always a priority with NBA, baseball, college basketball, all the other things going on. So this step kind of allows me to just focus on the things that I love and the things that I think my audience loves year round. So I'm excited about that aspect of it, of kind of having to write 4 or 5 times a week now instead of once a week, and getting back into actually, doing hardcore film grades on players and some of the like nerdier stuff that a gigantic company maybe doesn't always see the value in. So I'm pretty psyched for that.
No, that's awesome, man. We actually just launched our website ourselves. I mean, we did a little bit of soft launch, and we officially launched it back about 7 days ago. We got like 25,000 clicks so far, so I'm pretty stoked about it. I mean, we still got a long ways to go, but it's pretty cool to start out and know that we have the support from the community. So,
without a doubt, like I was telling you guys before we started, that's been the coolest thing, is to have guys like yourself be like, "Hey, you want to come on our podcast?" Like, hell yeah, I do. This is awesome. So, I definitely appreciate it.
No, man, we're excited to have you. And then, of course, we have FF Dusty Dog. Not you yet, Steph. You gotta wait.
I didn't get there yet. How many minutes late? Am I as late as I thought, huh?
Oh, man. And then we also have Drake Trowbridge in the house from Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football. What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Excellent. Thanks for having us on the show.
No,
love
excited to have you
here, man. I mean, my goodness. You could have asked anybody else who knows more things than I'm going to speak for me and not for Dustin. Dustin knows a lot of things. You could have asked anybody else who knows more things than I know to come on, but you allowed me on anyways, and so I am grateful.
No, we're excited to have you guys. You two have had me on your pod. We've had a blast, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, Matt Miller's on. Like, should I even tell them to still come on this show, or should we give them the full slate? I was like, what? Let's just make it a party. Let's just have fun with it. That's what we're all here for, is just to have fun and talk to fantasy football. So I was like, no, let's just do a full room. And then, of course, I have my co-host from now until the season starts, or sometime around then, Stephie Smalls. What's going on?
What's up, guys? Sorry, I got excited. I thought I was late. I was on another show, so I was a little overzealous, but I'm excited to be here. Can't wait. Thanks, Matt, for joining us. Thanks. You too also. I'm kidding.
God, I know why we're on the bottom of the screen now again.
No, I'm excited. It's always a blast.
Now we're sitting there, and you guys are probably on Wednesdays used to seeing us with Cooter Doodle and Mike, on these shows. So it's nice and refreshing to actually get in, Steph and get a break from Mike and Cooter, because those two are a lot to handle, let me tell you. But let's go ahead and kick off this show real quick. We have a few different things going on with this. We want to do a little bit of a national championship review and the quality of the, the stock of the players, and if some went up, some went down for you guys. We have some of the favorite prospects that are coming up in this draft, and then I wanted to do best draft fits for each team. Hopefully we can squeeze that all in before Matt actually has to bounce on us, because he's got to get out of here at 8:30 or so Eastern Standard Time. Following that, we're going to talk about some of the job openings and who, we think actually can land where and what we rank those job openings as. So that's going to be the second part. The first part, though, is all rookie content. So let's go ahead and hop into it. And I'm going to start out with Matt. Matt, what did you think of the championship game, man? Like, did you watch it? Did you take anything from it? Are you somebody that thinks that the national championship game actually has a big influence on where some of these players end up?
Yeah, guys, I've watched the game 4 times already. That's my job, though. So I watched it live, and then I woke up super early Tuesday morning. Was like, let me get another look at this game before I have to get on podcast, get on radio, get on TV, whatever it might be, and talk about it. So I'm at 4 viewings right now, and each time I'm really focusing on a different player for each team every time I watch it. At first it's I want to watch and get the flow of the game, see who wins so that I can talk about that. But then I want to look back at Justin Fields, because he's probably the biggest name out of these 2 schools, where I know I'm going to have to turn around and talk about what this game means for his draft stock. Now, to your last question there, I do think that this game can matter, because not because it's like, oh, you're under the lights, it's a national championship game, but more so, I really value marquee matchups. When it comes to level of competition, you want to see best versus best. That game carries a little bit more weight for me. So Justin Fields against Patrick Surtain, Chris Olave against Patrick Surtain in the Alabama defense, Wyatt Davis against Christian Barmore. So that's where the national championship and really the whole college football playoff is really, really big for me, because even when it was Notre Dame against Alabama, even when it was Clemson against Ohio State, you're not going to always get those opportunities. This year was a little better because of conference play, but a lot of times we'll see Clemson in the playoffs be like, you haven't played anybody all year, so this is my best chance to see you against elite talent. Alabama's just always dominant, so that makes things a little bit more fun. But I will watch that game at least 10 more times before the draft gets here, because there were 29 draftable prospects on the field just for this year, not for 22, just for this year. So when that happens, you're going to watch that game a lot. I will be intimately familiar with the fast forward rewind button on that remote because of that game for sure.
Dude, it was an incredible game too, to be honest with you. Go ahead.
No, it really was. Yeah.
You're going to make me feel so bad for watching New Girl for like the 300th time as you're out there grinding tape over one game for the 1 millionth.
No, I get that. I've watched
Jake.
New Girl like 3 times through as well. I have to have something to do in the summer, so I get you on that one. It's just like that's part of the job that, it's fun to interact on Twitter and have those hot takes, but then you have to step back and there's the real analysis, of, okay, what did this game actually mean? Like, I'm not trying to fire off like funny things on Twitter or really, really quick, microwave society thoughts on the players. It's that deeper level of analysis that, it's fun to interact during the game and do things to make people laugh or to make people think. But then, eventually you have to come back and reconcile that with, okay, what did this guy look like all year? And for you guys with fantasy football, there's a lot of players in that game, whether it was Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, a little bit we saw him, Justin Fields, Najee Harris. There's a lot of fantasy implications there that tie into what I do with the NFL draft.
I mean, sitting there and looking at it, I mean, obviously Devontae Smith went off. Like, it was absolutely insane. Was there anybody else that like kind of moved up your board following that game so far? I know it's still early, but so far.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Chase. I think it's more so that it's a guy you circle and say, okay, I saw something different from him that I need to go back and see if maybe I just missed something before. I don't get to break down the tape on every game right after they happen. A lot happens from January to April because you're just too busy in season to do that. So I make notes when I'm watching a game live of, okay, I saw this from a guy. Devontae Smith is the one where, I mean, you just solidify your status a little bit. You won the Heisman Trophy. It's obviously very deserved. And what he did in that first half was like Jerry Rice stuff, right? Guys don't normally do that. So that was a big one. I really thought that Tuff Borland, the Ohio State linebacker, now there was a play where I'm sure he got highlighted on it where he somehow got switched in coverage to Devonta Smith, which is a terrible, terrible mismatch. But I thought the rest of the game, he actually looked really good. So he's a player where I thought I saw a little bit more quickness and athleticism from him, a guy who he had an Achilles tear early in his career. It looked like it kind of slowed him down ever since. But I thought when asked to play in space on Monday night, he did a little bit better. So he's someone that on the positive side looked really good. Deontay Brown, the offensive guard for Alabama. I know folks were tweeting a picture of like, this is the ideal body, and it's just this dude who looks like a bulldog. But he played really well against a good Ohio State D-line. So again, though, like there's 29 players in that game. We could talk about each of them and how they looked in this one big one.
Big shout out to Fantasy Intervention in the chat. You guys are coming in strong, of course, just like y'all always do. So big shout out to you guys. Troy, Taylor, Mike, good to see y'all. All right, so sitting there and looking at it, I mean, like Devonta Smith, he's going to be a hot topic, all the way up into the combine. Is he going to end up testing well, do you think, or is this more of an on-the-field presence?
Yeah, I think it's more of an on-the-field presence, and that's a great thing to clarify because a lot of people see him play and they think, damn, that guy's fast. And he is compared to the five of us. Now, no disrespect, man. I've never seen you guys run. I'm going to guess he's fast.
I'm pretty quick, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you were the one I was worried about. So, he's going to run in the mid 4.4s, maybe high 4.4s, which is still really damn fast. At 6'1", 175, like that's moving. But he's not going to be fast. Like when we think of NFL players now, like Tyreek Hill's fast. He's going to run a 4.2. Henry Ruggs last year running in a 4.2. Jalen Waddle's probably going to run in the 4.2 range. So we've just been spoiled by these guys to where someone who's going to run a mid 4.4, 10 years ago, that was really fast. Now that's really kind of average for a wide receiver, especially a wide receiver who's not very big. So what makes Devonta Smith so special is he has the best hands of any wide receiver in college. And I would say you could even go back to last year. He probably had the best hands of anyone in college football. And he's just, we call it high cut in scouting. So he has really long legs and a really short torso. So while he might not be great in a 40-yard dash, when you get him out on the field, he just chews up yardage with that long stride. So it's not really conducive to being a sprinter, but it's actually really good for being a football player because he is able to accelerate and pull away from guys. And he has great change of direction, excellent footwork. So he's not going to be DK Metcalf at the combine where you're just drooling over the physical attributes, but people will remember that this man was unstoppable in college football. And I mean, starting with the Miami Dolphins, if they keep the pick at number 3 overall, I mean, that's where the conversation really will start with him.
Yep, right there. Troy was talking about it. I mean, honestly, like I could almost see it like happening with the Jets too, but that's something we're going to talk about here in a little bit. So do you guys have any other questions about Devonta Smith for him? Because I want to hop on to one more player, and then I want to hop on to our next topic. You guys got anything for him on this?
He's playing in the Giants, right?
You guys can hope. I don't know that he's going to be there. He might not last that long. That's the only problem. But you know what? Jamar Chase. I think a lot of people have forgotten about Jamar Chase at LSU, who got 20 touchdowns in 2019 and won the Blitnikoff, opted out. But you know what's crazy? Like we sit here middle of January and we're like, there's no way Devonta Smith or Jamar Chase are going to fall. Last year, Henry Ruggs was the first receiver picked at 10 overall. Judy didn't go to 15. CeeDee Lamb didn't go to 18. So a year ago, we would have thought that was just ridiculous. That's never going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. But teams value quarterbacks, tackles, and pass rushers, not as much wide receivers. So I don't think he'll be there for your Giants, but he might be there for the beloved Philadelphia Eagles or a team in the 6 to 7 range.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I don't know if they're going to last all the way to the Giants, but did you have something else, Jake or Dustin?
Not a bit. I want to get these juices or keep these juices flowing. What else is on the agenda?
I wanted to talk about Najee Harris real quick before we bounce off because Najee Harris, he did well in the receiving game, but he kind of sucked it up in the rushing game. Now I know he had some goal line carries and whatnot, but 3.6 yards per carry. I know that yards per carry aren't really indicative of a player's overall talent. But at the same time, with the situation, everything going on, I still expected more out of Najee Harris on the ground. So 22 carries, 79 yards, I believe? Yeah, 79 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns. But, I mean, is this something that's maybe a little bit questionable for Najee Harris, or is he not moving at all because of that reason?
So he's not moving for me because of that. I do think it's something like we were talking about earlier where you have to go back and watch and see, okay, like why was the guy limited? Was he limited because of scheme? Did Ohio State say we're going to sell out to stop Najee Harris and, pass game be damned? We think we can pressure Mac Jones enough and we're going to stop Najee. That's kind of how it looked when I watched the first time through when I was just absorbing what was happening. And I will be interested to see, where the safety placement was. But I still think Najee is the best running back in this class. You mentioned it, Chase, that he is a very good receiver. And that's something that I think really where he decided to come back for his senior year, that was a part of his game that we got to see blossom a little bit. Compared to a guy like Travis Etienne at Clemson, who, caught the ball a little bit more this year, but it's still not a great asset of his game. And he's not big enough to work in pass protection. Whereas we know, like in the NFL, if you can't pass protect, you're not going to be on the field to be a pass receiver. And so Najee being 6'2", 230, and he's had to play at Alabama where it's a lot of screen game, it's a lot of pass pro. He's going to be really well situated to play earlier in the NFL as opposed to guys like Etienne or, even Javonte Williams at North Carolina, Michael Carter, who's also there. I mean, there's some good running backs in this class, but I think Najee's the one who has solidified himself as the top back. I don't know that means first round just because of how many teams have premium needs at quarterback, tackle, pass rusher. But to me, he is still the best. The big question for him and all the Alabama guys is how great that team was. Mac Jones at quarterback has an NFL offensive line, 2 first-round receivers, and maybe a first-round running back. That makes it pretty damn hard to evaluate you, like to pull him out of that system. But the same goes for Najee Harris. When you have an NFL offensive line, you're a senior playing, you're kind of a man amongst boys physically in a lot of ways. So it does make it's just one of the things with Alabama players and why, I personally have missed on a couple of Alabama guys pretty famously because they're hard to evaluate. They're hard to pull out of that system and put them in their own little bubble and try to figure out exactly who they are and not get burnt by the scheme or the offensive line.
Yeah, now it could be possibly seen with Tua. I mean, Tua, he's sitting there and he's not looking pretty right now, especially if he ends up on the Texans, which I guess are the rumors right now. But that is scary for Tua fans if he ends up on the Texans. Now, I do want to hop into this next topic, but you brought up the fact of some of these players that return to school, and Chuba Hubbard was one of them. And Chuba Hubbard hurt his stock by going back to school this year.
He absolutely did. And I hate to see that because I really, really like Chuba. And a lot of times I'm asked to advise on players and their decisions, whether that's to go back to school, enter the draft, whatever it might be. And the feedback that I gave them last year was that he should declare for the draft, understood why he didn't want to. He had a shot at a Heisman, a shot at a Big 12 championship. But when the pandemic hit and there was that, you had the ability to opt out. My advice was, again, I think he should opt out, especially with the kind of the friction there with Mike Gundy and some of the things that were happening at that time. I really thought like it would be in his best interest to go ahead and sit out, prepare for the NFL. He decided to play. I do think that hurt him. I mean, from a production standpoint, it fell completely through the floor. He just didn't look the same. He didn't seem to have the same burst. I think the Oklahoma State offensive line maybe wasn't as good. That affected him a little bit, but that whole team was down. Tylan Wallace didn't have the year that we expected him to have from a production standpoint either. So I do think it has hurt Chuba to the point that if you allow me to scroll for 1 second, I think he's my number 10 overall running back right now. And the last time I posted that, people got so upset with me. It was like, what are you thinking? But I would ask, like, what you showed us last is what we're going to remember. And with Chuba, it was not very good this year. And we can make valid excuses for some of it, right? But it just wasn't great. That does set him up to be a steal. I mean, we could be talking about a day 3 player for Chuba Hubbard, which I think would have shocked people a year ago. But given the rise of, Jarrett Patterson had such a great year at Buffalo. Jamar Jefferson comes on at Oregon State. Khalil Herbert at Virginia Tech. The 2 guys at North Carolina who I mentioned earlier, Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. Javian Hawkins at Louisville. Guys like that rise up on the scene. And we saw them do it at a high level this year. And when Chuba struggles, that really hurts the perception of him. So there might be some, team that sees, hey, you know what, 2020 was a myth. We're going to go back to 2019, and that's who he is. But that is a pretty big risk at this point.
No, I'm very interested to see that. By the way, make sure you guys go check out youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Once again, that's youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Go hit subscribe for us. We have plenty of off-season content coming at y'all quick and hot and on the ready. So sitting there and looking at it, let's go ahead and dive into this next topic. And that's going to be your favorite prospects. Doesn't have to be the best ones, just your favorite ones. Like, last year for me, I was really big on Joe Reed. Unfortunately, that hasn't panned out.
Man, I was too.
What's up?
I was too. I was so high on Joe Reed.
Oh my God.
Such a good return, man.
He was so good. He was great with the ball in space. He was great at the point of catch. He just had everything going for him, and he just has not panned out. And the craziest part was his athletic profile was almost identical to A.J. Brown. Sitting there and looking at it, like they were almost identical from their height, weight, the way they scored. The only thing that wasn't was their stats from college, which is obviously a big part to it. But you're talking about UVA, they're not passing the ball very often over there. So, sitting there and looking at it, I love Kenny Gainwell, like probably irrationally. He's sitting there. First off, his high school profile was off the charts. He averaged 9.8 yards per carry as a 14-year-old freshman. They moved him into quarterback. He had over 1,100 passing yards with 10 touchdowns. Well, he racked up 1,800 yards on the ground with 32 touchdowns as a senior. So he ended up going over there to Memphis, and right away, he ended up pushing Antonio Gibson, pretty far out of the picture, and then he ended up opting out this year. So I'm a big fan of him. Kadarius Toney literally looks like a human joystick. Like he looks like he's playing a Madden football game. Is there somebody? Let's start out with Jake. If he has somebody on top, says there's somebody, Jake, that you like that you're actually a big fan of.
You know who I like is this Trevor Lawrence guy. Have you heard of this guy? Has anybody caught his film? He flies under the radar, so I wouldn't begrudge you if you didn't catch it. But I really like. No, I'll be honest with you, and I think Dustin and I can both attest to this. We're more like after the NFL draft. Let's dig in. Let's see what we have to work with rookies. I'm not a good enough pure talent evaluator to be able to look at a guy like Matt can and just say, hey, I really love you purely based on your talent. I'm so much landing spot dependent. With that said, there's one guy who I legitimately do like, and he is very popular, but I still like him only based on highlights. I have not done deep dives, but Kyle Pitts is going to be the opposite of the Pitts. He is, I think I read that he didn't drop a single pass. Is that correct? I don't imagine a bad landing spot almost for that guy.
So he's nothing like Ingram is what you're trying to tell me.
He is the exact opposite of Evan Ingram. So maybe the Giants would be a perfect fit.
Yeah, right.
Dustin, did you have somebody that you had off the top of your head, or?
Oh, I have no one off the top of my head. As Jake said, we're not deep into the rookies and evaluating the incoming NFL draft players. So I rely on people that are much smarter than me in that arena to do all that work for me. And then I make decisions based off of that. So thank you, Matt, for putting in all that hard work.
No pressure, right? No pressure at all.
Right. Well, the pressure's on Stephie now. Stephie, do you have somebody for this? Because I'm waiting for some hot fire from you.
So, of course, I'm going to come out and say something extremely bold, which is not surprising for me. I took this person in the second round of our fantasy intervention draft, and this is a player that hasn't declared that he is in the draft yet, but Justin Ross is my dude. So I think that if he declares himself, his all of his injury, everything that happened, he had surgery, he basically is just not getting tackled. So this guy is in a really good place to still be able to declare, which is interesting is that he's going to end up slipping. He's not going to, he would have probably went top 5 had he played this year. He had a phenomenal year last year. So should this guy actually declare himself and be in the draft, it's going to be interesting what team ends up getting him because he's going to slip down a little farther. I don't know what the expert thinks on Justin Ross, but that is my personal, I'm very interested in. I was watching his film the other night when we were doing this draft, and he's so cool.
No, he's special. It's just the biggest question is the neck injury. And what is it with Clemson and their number one receiver having a neck injury?
I don't know.
This is 2. We got to look into this. There's a problem here. But I do like Justin Ross. I mean, it's a cheat to say, oh, he reminds me of T. Higgins, but he really does. They have a type there. 6'4", 205, great at the catch point. And I think with Justin, he's probably a little faster than T. Higgins, where I do think his ability to separate over the top is not going to be as questioned as T's was coming out. But he is really, really good. I honestly haven't heard one way or another if he's going to declare himself eligible or not yet. They're usually pretty free about sharing things like that. The Clemson staff is. This year they've been a little more tight-lipped, I think, just with everything going on with COVID. But Justin is really good. I think he's someone before the injury. He was absolutely, in that conversation with Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. He was up there as one of the best receivers in the country. So it's unfortunate what happened. And I think his decision normally you would say, okay, he's going to lose his guy in Trevor Lawrence. He's probably going to go to the NFL. But because it's Clemson and because they have DJ just waiting in the wings to take that job, it might not be as pressing. Kind of like Alabama. Okay, you're going to lose Tua. These guys are all going to declare. But Devontae Smith decided to go back, and it worked out really well for him. So I think this is one player who has – I can see it going either way, and it doesn't feel like there's a bad decision for him.
Right. I can dream on all I want, but I just think, he hasn't said that he isn't going to go to the draft. So I think I'm being optimistic. I think he'll do well in the NFL. Apparently it's going very well injury wise, and he's basically just not getting tackled at this point. So he's ahead of schedule for him.
So I don't know if we're actually going to have time to hop into this next segment right now. So let's go ahead and answer a couple questions. Yeah. You cool with that, Matt?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go ahead and answer this one from Taylor. Is there a massive drop-off from Sewell to Slater? And which one is a better immediate contributor? And, I mean, for me, it's kind of obvious because I haven't seen a tackle like Sewell, come out that looks as polished off as he does. But tell me what you think. You probably watched a lot more film on him than I have so far.
Yeah, it's tough because neither of these guys played this year. So they're both opt-out players, which makes it really difficult. You almost have to go back and be like, okay, wait, what'd you do last year? And it's interesting because Penei Sewell at Oregon, his kind of marquee performance was against Derek Brown at Auburn. And it's like, okay, well, if he can handle Derek Brown, the power is definitely there. The anchor ability is there. And for Rashawn Slater, it was Chase Young. And so two pretty good players these guys had to go against. So I think Penei Sewell is the best tackle in the draft class. But I don't have Rashawn Slater far behind. I think with Slater, the more I've had a chance to watch that 2019 tape, his technique is just so refined. And so he's not as athletic as Sewell. It's really not close. But he's technically a lot more proficient. And I think that's where you watch him play. It's a lot more pro style. You're seeing him do things that he's going to be asked to do in the NFL. With Sewell, you're sometimes betting that his athleticism translates, and that's going to work. The Oregon scheme, Justin Herbert got knocked for it. I don't know that Sewell will get knocked for it as much, but it is more of a projection where there's a little bit of a risk involved with that. And I have talked to offensive line coaches in the NFL who say that they would love to see Sewell play with more upper body strength. They would like to see him finish plays, be a little bit meaner, a little bit dirtier. I'm old enough to remember when people said that about Joe Staley and he got into the NFL and just started whipping ass. So I think that's a switch that you can flip when you need to do it. But I think they're both exceptional players. I have them both ranked inside my top 6 overall right now for overall players. So, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, like you're sitting there at 5, you're going to get a good tackle, whether Sewell's off the board or not.
Dude, I love that.
Taylor is so excited right now somewhere, wherever he is. He is like jumping for joy.
See, I had Slater outside the top 10, but it wasn't far. It was like 13 or something like that. So I actually felt like I was reaching when I did this mock draft that we were supposed to do. I actually felt like I was reaching when Detroit picked him at 7.
No, that's not a reach at all. I really do think that's his range. And depending on, like, so much is unknown right now. If Miami keeps the pick at 3, if they trade the pick at 3, a lot hinges on that, right? Or how the Jets view the quarterback class. A lot hinges right there, deal. Right? So, yeah.
Those two things are absolutely massive. Who's the best edge rusher in the draft?
Oh, that's a tough question. There's a lot of guys grouped together. If I had to put my name on one, I would say Kwity Paye at Michigan, just because the athleticism and production match up. 6'4", 270. He's a very, very good athlete. I mention the size because he could be a true 4-3 defensive end. A lot of guys coming out of college just aren't able to do that because they can't convert speed to power. They can't anchor against the run. Kwity Paye is able to do that. I really like Joseph Osai at Texas. I mean, he's raw, only 1 year at the position, but was exceptional. Miami's got a couple guys, Gregory Rousseau, who opted out this year, but he had 19 and a half tackles for a loss last year, 15 and a half sacks. He was really impressive. He opts out, and Jalen Phillips steps in and has a year this year that's super impressive. So it's a good edge rusher class, which I didn't think it would be. Back in August, it's like, there's no Chase Young this year. This might be a weak class, but several guys really stepped up to the point that there's 5 or 6 that are going to have top round grades from me, at least.
I feel like it was kind of like the wide receiver class from last year where it was very deep, but we didn't have that one elite prospect that kind of stood out. But I have Kwity Paye going to the Dallas Cowboys, I believe.
They would be very happy with that. They would be very happy.
All right, so sitting there, the top corner. Who is the top corner for you?
Yeah, it's a toss-up right now. I'm not trying to hedge on this, but I think Patrick Surtain, who we saw at Alabama this year, played very well. And then Caleb Farley, who actually opted out of Virginia Tech. I think people forget how great Farley was in 2019. They're very different players. Surtain is going to be bigger. It's going to be press coverage. He's better in zone for sure. Farley has better top-end speed. He has better recovery speed. So it does remind me of last year when there was the split between Jeff Okudah and C.J. Henderson, and it came down to scheme. So this year, Caleb Farley would be the C.J. Henderson. He has the speed to play in phase. He's going to be very, very good man coverage. And this year, Surtain is your Jeff Okudah, where he's a bigger body who can press, but he's going to be a press bail. You're going to want him more in zone coverage, and that's what Bama does so much, and he's ready to go. But they're both very good players, and I think they're both going to go in the top 12 or 13 picks.
So we're going to end it on this. Good friend of the show. We're not going to end the whole show. We're going to end your time so you can hop on your other show. We're going to end it with our good friend of the podcast, Dominate over there, wants to know burger or steak.
Oh, wow. So I'm in Missouri. I'm in the Midwest, and we don't do a lot well here, but we do beef really well in the Midwest. So I'm a steak guy. Like, give me a filet medium. I know people are going to want to know, and like some roasted Brussels sprouts, and I'm in heaven. Like, that's a great night for me. So not that I don't have anything against a good burger, but if somebody else is paying, especially, I'm going to get a steak.
I actually just had that for dinner, except for I went rare instead of.
Oh, there we go. My girlfriend gets rare, and I get medium, and we just like split them. You know, it's like, okay, everybody's happy now.
Yeah, all right, let everybody know where to find you, Matt.
Yeah, you follow on Twitter at NFL Draft Scout, and then the new website, it is live. It's thedraftscout.com, and I'll have a full 7-round mock draft dropping February 11th. That's when the articles start rolling out. So I'm going to get crazy day one with a 7-round mock draft. So hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Sounds good. Hey, we appreciate you coming in, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate the invite and making time for me.
No, of course. Thank you for making time for us. Come on.
Thanks for all you do, Matt. We appreciate your work.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a good night.
You too. That was cool.
Holy shit, I need to pee my pants. I'll be right back.
Oh my God, go.
Well, if you're peeing your pants, you really don't have to go anywhere, do you?
All right.
I thought that was the benefit of peeing your pants.
Oh, God. All right. Let's go ahead and kick off this next segment that we got. I'm going to go ahead and skip the draft stuff just because we definitely got our fill on that. But I want to sit there and I want to talk about some of these job openings, right? We have different rankings through these job openings for all of us. And we have the Jags, the Falcons, the Jets, the Lions, the Texans, and the Eagles, right? They're still all open for what I know. Is that correct? I love how I love how Bob actually set this thing in. He's like, oops, I forgot to take it off. And he just left his Dynasty Time Machine thing up. Over here's the logo. right on our stuff.
Just a little bit of extra advertising. No
Thanks, Bob. No, so sitting there and looking at it, which job is the most appealing for you guys? First off, we'll start out with you, Jake.
Like if I'm a potential coach that gets to step into one of these teams and take over the reins, this I think is an unpopular opinion, but I would rather go with the established young quarterback above all else. So I would like to step in as the coach of the Chargers. I mean, you have Justin Herbert, who is the real deal, and I don't think that there's anybody who can possibly dispute that at this point. Yep. I would like to have that set up because that is the most difficult position to fill, especially from a long-term perspective. And if you have that, you have automatic built-in longevity. Some people would rather put their mark on the team by being able to take in the new QB, and then if they're good, you can take credit for it, and I get that too. I go the opposite direction, though.
I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. That is by far the most sexy landing spot for me. What about you, Dustin?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Chargers all the way. I mean, they got so many great pieces on that offense already, and then defense is rock solid too. So you're stepping into a pretty good position where if you hit the draft and free agency correctly, you're only going to need a few pieces to really turn things around to the positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty obvious overall. So, like sitting there and looking at it, who would be number two? Or, well, Steph's back. Steph, who is the most appealing?
Sorry.
What's the most appealing landing location for you? I'm sorry, coaching spot for you at the Jags, the Falcons, the Jets, the Chargers, the Lions, the Texans, and the Eagles.
There's no way all of you answered every single one of those in that.
No, which one's the most appealing?
Oh, like which wait, say them again. Jesus.
If you didn't pee for so long, you would have been abreast of the situation.
I was since 6 o'clock drinking White Claws, and I couldn't go. I was going to be late, and I'm like, this guy is on the show. I got to hold it in. I was fully prepared to pee my pants, and I was going to be okay with it at that point.
I'm pretty sure Nate agrees with you over there.
It was bad. It was a bad scenario. Okay, can you name the teams one more time?
Oh my God, you have a show sheet, woman.
Oh, I don't have it up anymore.
All right, so Jags, Falcons,
Uh-huh.
Jets, Chargers, Lions, Texans, and the Eagles.
Jets.
You like the Jets the most, huh?
For who? Is there a specific person that we're talking about?
No, just the most. If you could coach one of these teams,
Jets. I think the Jets are they're in a good place with the pick that they have. If they keep Darnold, then you could definitely monopolize on that. There's some talent over there, and people forget that. So their mistake is getting rid of Darnold. Darnold has proved to be a functional quarterback. You keep a functional quarterback who can win games, and you just fill the holes with all of your shitty draft picks that you're going to have the next 3 years. So you find a good head coach and you monopolize on that. If they want to do something great, they honestly could. Right now is the time for the Jets to actually rebuild. If they really want to, they can. You keep Darnold a couple years, fill those holes there. And there's people over there. I mean, they can win games.
They can win games, and honestly, I like the Jets, and I love Sam Darnold. I hope that Sam Darnold goes to the Colts. Do I think that he does? No, I think they hold on to him, or at least they should. But it's still very, very possible. Sam Darnold's shown some just amazing throws throughout the years. So, it's sitting there and looking at it. Are the Jets number 2 for you guys? Because personally, number 2 for me is the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are a slam dunk landing spot. I love the Jaguars.
Well, you know what I like about the Jets, though, I will say, is if they employed Adam Gase for multiple years, you know that your leash is pretty long there. So You're not going to have to worry about getting booted too quick. It's a low bar that's set. And I will say, yeah, it's not like they're completely without talent there. I'm very curious, by the way, can the next coach please unlock Chris Herndon? For the love of God, just make me believe that he's a real tight end. Jets could be number 2.
He can't stay healthy, man. He can't develop if you can't stay on the field. This year he did, but
yeah. Well, that was. 1 year. That's tough when you're. It takes that 3 years or so, they say, to become a legit tight end. Although Cole Kmet is proving that wrong. That one's for you, Cooter. I will say, actually, my number 2 spot is neither the Jets or the Jags, though. I would be very interested in going and taking over the Falcons, because I think you're in a situation where you can move on directly from Matt Ryan. You can completely start over the franchise, because none of these other, besides maybe the Texans with Watson out the door, none of these other ones are going to have that kind of turnover at quarterback. And if you do believe in that thing of, I get to make my mark with a new quarterback, that's kind of enticing. And it's not like they have a lot of great depth there, but if you're into a rebuild, I love to take over a dynasty orphan team. So I might be into the Falcons.
The Falcons with the contract situation actually make it really tough to move on from Matt Ryan for another year or two. Post 2022 is the first year that they can actually relegate some cap space, unless they want to find someone that's going to take on a $40 million contract or something like that.
But don't you feel that other NFL teams have proven over the last few years that there is no contract that is not absorbable for the right person, of course?
True. No, yes. It is true. Absolutely.
But you have to find somebody that's going to take, I think it's something like a 40 or 30 something million dollar contract, which is a lot more massive than what we've seen with Joe Flacco and other quarterbacks or players that have gotten traded. I mean, it's a big chunk of change. And Matt Ryan's great and all, but are we going to find a veteran team that can do that? So I've always had this thing where okay, the salary cap's fake. It doesn't actually exist because there's loopholes with everything. I mean, Mickey Loomis and Kai, their salary cap specialists, are just absolutely brilliant at it. I mean, brilliant. The Eagles, they've kind of left some, a little bit of debris in the path, but they still, for the most part, have been really good with the cap and manipulating it. Vikings is another team that's really good at manipulating the cap, but I still think that Matt Ryan's contract is really tough to move off of, just from the things that I've looked at with them. And I've explored that angle a lot, because I'm huge into guys like Stafford, guys like Dak Prescott, and guys like Matt Ryan moving teams. So I have looked into a lot to that, and it just looks like it's really tough with Matt Ryan to move off. But I mean, you still
give him to the Bears. The Bears will take anybody. It's fine. They're the black hole of quarterback contracts. Let them take it on.
But you have Trubisky, and he's the truth.
You got Nick Foles too. Come on, Nick Foles.
Come on, I'll take Nick Foles as a backup in New York. Bring him over here.
What about you, Dustin? Who's your number 2?
Well, just to be different here, because I happen to agree with you, Chase, that I think the Jags is the ideal number 2 spot. I actually don't hate the Lions, though, either. Yes. they've got some good pieces on that offense. And they're going to be looking for a quarterback here soon. Whether it's this year, maybe next year, I don't know. You're getting a whole new coaching staff. Hopefully they get someone in there that can actually unlock that offense and push it downfield, and then bulk up that defense a little bit. And not saying they'll be contenders in the NFC North, but they could push for that number 2 position in the division.
All right, so we got number
hedging.
2 down and pretty much the number 3. So let's kind of hop onto the back end of this, and let's talk about the worst coaching opportunities, because I feel like we're probably going to differentiate in that too. Go ahead, Steph. You can go first.
Okay, great. Thank you. The Eagles is the worst opportunity. And without a doubt, that was just such a weird, whatever happened over there was weird. Everything about it, between that last game. They have a negative $71 million cap. This team is in a bad place right now. They've got a lot of vets. Their contracts are ending. I mean, this is not a good scenario. I think that someone's going to come in too, and they're going to look at Hurts and say, I don't really know if we want to keep him as a franchise quarterback. So I think the Eagles they're approaching a point of no return where they're going to have to rebuild. So is it a good opportunity for someone that really thinks they can pull it off? Sure, but I just don't see that being a possibility.
Do both of you guys agree? Because I saw y'all both nod your heads, but for me, it's like the Texans.
No.
I'm very interested in that. My thought with the Eagles is, 1, quarterback controversy, get that shit out of here. Number 2, a GM who doesn't listen or doesn't communicate or doesn't do anything, which is terrifying. That whole thing is it's just you're a fucking frog in a boiling pot of water, and I don't want to be that guy who has to take whatever that is on. Ask me in like 5 years, and I'd be like, the Eagles will be the best possible spot because, again, the expectation is going to be so low. Then I'll be happy to take over.
My problem is who takes it over. Like, I can't think of someone that could take it over and like take over all of those issues, have guys leave. And like, I can't think of someone that I think could actually manage that entire scenario with their front office the way it is.
We'll go over that in a second, because I do have a name. I have a few names, but I do have a name that really strikes strong, which is getting a lot of hate over the past like 12 or so hours. No. Not quite that much hate. All right, but Dustin, are you on the same page, different page? What's going on?
I was initially on a different page, but hearing these arguments, I think you guys have convinced me that Philadelphia is by far the worst. No, I shouldn't say by far. That's unfair. It's pretty close. You're splitting hairs, but they are probably in the worst position right now. But I initially was with the Texans, mainly because you have your franchise quarterback that is obviously unhappy with the situation there, who they hired for their GM, let alone who they're going to end up hiring for their head coach. And then with the lack of draft picks, it's just a bad situation to walk into here. So obviously, I think at this point we can all agree that Watson's probably gone from that team, whether they get a young quarterback in return or draft picks where they can draft a new quarterback to be the face of their franchise remains to be seen. But hey, Watson is a special player, and to not have him on your team as far as in your corner as the franchise really hurts that situation even more.
Yeah, I mean, sitting there and looking at like the Texans just have so many bad things going for them. Like, can we name a position where they're going to be good at if Watson and if JJ Watt leave? Can you guys name one position where they're adequate?
Wide receiver 1/2 ish with Brandon Cooks there.
But how?
Brandon Cooks is the one.
Yeah, I said 1 and 2 ish. I know it's not great, and like defense side of the ball is going to be
The only team that could really offer, and it's crazy because I just wrote an article on Watson, but I didn't include this team, but really like the Dolphins are the only ones that could actually come up with some kind of offer that makes sense to me, because the Texans are in such a shitty spot right now. Like, you would be crazy to get rid of Watson. Like, figure it out. Like, go to couples therapy. I don't know what the two of them need to do, but you guys need to figure it out because they're screwed. I mean, they don't have a first and a second round. What the hell are you guys going to do without Watson?
They'll hire the enemy, and then all of a sudden Watson's fine, and this whole big thing never happened.
Did
It
it?
just seems like he's completely out of all runnings
like
ever. I
Allen
just don't know how
Robinson.
they come back.
Done.
No, but all he wants is Bieniemy. That's all. Like literally, that's his only demand so far was that he want to be Bieniemy, right? He wanted to be involved in the hiring process, but they're not going to bring him in for a GM hiring job. They'll bring him in for the coaching hire.
Win. That's what he wants.
Huh?
He wants to win. He keeps losing, so he obviously just wants to win. I mean,
Well, I mean, they made the playoffs last year. I think they won the NFC South or AFC South.
Did you guys see the video where like Watt is like slapping his butt and being like, "I'm sorry, we couldn't do it another year for you"? Like it was done from that point, and that was before they said that Watson. When I saw that video come out, I was in my head. I go, "This guy's gonna ask for a trade," because you can tell JJ knows that he's done. Like he just doesn't want him there.
He got the JJ slap of death.
Yeah, it's
walking
it.
off the field.
He got the spank of death, and it was done.
We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Bieniemy.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to get a few more beers if we're
Sorry,
done.
that's actually really bad about me because I'm normally great at pre-addressing the comments. But yes, there's a comment from Dynasty Vipers over there. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. I might agree with you, but sitting there looking at it, I can't think of another position where the Texans are good at, and they don't have a ton of salary cap space. They suck at every position. At least the Eagles are good on the defensive line and the linebacker core. Like at least the Eagles have some young wide receivers. Their tight ends are good. Their offensive line is good.
But they're losing. They're going to lose people after this season. I like the Texans better. I think the Texans are in a better spot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm presenting my case, Stephie. Okay.
I just feel like you should think about it. I feel like this is something that you're just saying and you're not thinking about.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
No, this is something that's where I can't they have so many holes. Their whole team is a giant hole and they can't get it filled. So
that's what she said.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't have enough draft picks to fill the holes, and sitting there and looking at it, like they don't have the ton of money for free agency. So I don't know how they're going to solve their defensive woes. I don't know how they're going to solve their offensive woes.
Yeah, Tua would do really bad over there.
It would be a nightmare if Tua went to.
I already don't like Tua, and I already don't think Tua is going to have much success in this league. But I'm telling you, he goes to the Texans, he's fucking done.
His only target is a downfield target outside of Randall Cobb. I mean,
what are you doing on the Texans with Tua?
It's bad.
Tom Brady would get fucking destroyed on the Texans. Like there are very few quarterbacks who would be capable of stepping into the Texans situation and actually thriving or coming close to it like Watson has. Yeah. So they should be kissing his ass and doing everything they can to keep him in the building, but I don't know that they will.
Yeah. But then you wonder too, are they going to try to rebuild? So then you take Tua on knowing that he isn't going to stay there very long, but then at least you get those picks back maybe. Because
Josh just said.
Okay, Josh. I'm kidding. Oh, it's like the same comment that I just said.
No, I mean, honestly, that's pretty much, where they're standing at. But they're going to need more picks. They're going to have to trade back, with that number 3 pick. I wouldn't even draft Sewell. I wouldn't, because they got Laramie Tunsil. Like, you need to trade back. You need as many picks as you could possibly get. So if they can get a haul, if let's just say Justin Fields falls a spot, ooh, that becomes sexy. All right, so sitting there and looking at it, we already talked about the Eagles. We already talked about the Texans. I want to talk about the landing spots for some of these teams, actually. That's where I'm going to pivot to. Let's go to landing spots because we have the Jags, and Urban Meyer makes sense. Like, he's going to be the guy most likely. I don't really see them going a different route. I don't know if you guys do. But, I mean, what I want to know is the offensive coaching staff because he could either go the way that Matt Rule went, bringing in like a veteran to kind of get to kind of build his own staff, or he could end up bringing in like a head coach to be an offensive or defensive coordinator, just like Joe Judge did. So the difference between the two is
my boy. Sorry.
Like Meyer is sitting there. It's a very similar rule where he was a head coach. He's coming in as a head coach. Meanwhile, Joe Judge came in as an already seasoned vet at a coordinator position. So is Urban Meyer the lock for Jacksonville?
I don't know if he's 100% locked in, but all of the buzz is insinuating that he's going to be there. And if he's there, then you kind of know what the quarterback situation is going to look like. I wonder if that's all kind of built in together automatically. Like if that's why people are projecting it, if that's what the Jags organization is projecting for that reason. because maybe then they think they could trade back and get. Obviously, you don't make your coaching decision based on one draft pick, but it would be very interesting if he goes there. I think it's like 90% locked in.
Dustin, how you feeling? Is Urban Meyer going to Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a done deal at this point from the sounds of it. I mean, you really haven't heard a lot of other coaches, potential coaches associated with them going to that team. So, unless someone really comes out of the woodwork here, but they want to make a splash and really show that they're changing the direction of this team. And I think a coach like that would definitely send that signal to their fan base.
Steph, are you in disagreeing at all, or?
No, I'm not going to be difficult this time. Obviously there's a lot of openings right now. So I think until it's a done deal, I'm not going to say that it's definitely going to happen, because I think there's some appealing options on the market now that there is some openings. But I think for this one, is it probably going to happen? Yeah, probably. But he also could very much go somewhere else. I mean, it's probably 90-10% at this point.
Yeah, the only other one that he's rumored to have conversations with are the Chargers. So that'll make things interesting, but I think it's pretty much locked in. I mean, he has this choice of, his quarterback, who he had in college with Justin Fields, or Trevor Lawrence. So what about the Falcons? Because I like the Falcons job. I do, and I wanted to go Arthur Smith here, but I ended up going with Joe Brady. I mean, he's like, the Falcons are historically very, reliable franchise. They take care of their coaches. And, Brady, he only has like 8 years of coaching under his belt, like as a whole, like since he started coaching at William & Mary, I think in 2012 or something like that. Like he doesn't have a ton of experience. So he's going to need some time to develop and time to learn how to run an organization. They've got some savvy veterans with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, who want to win. I mean, I actually like this spot a lot. And I know that I put it as one of my favorites, but I mean, it's up there. So who do you guys have going to the Falcons? Like, is this something where Joe Brady could be that perfect fit?
Maybe, but can I throw out a homer pick here for this?
Yes.
Of what I saw, because I saw that Nathaniel Hackett got interviewed by the Falcons, Packers OC. And you're talking about like not a lot of experience, which is so true. This guy has fucking no experience as a head coach. But how interesting would it be if I'm just playing into my own rebuild narrative here? But if they did that, and it's just gone Julio, gone Matt Ryan, in comes this fresh-faced dude, and it would be exciting if nothing else. And like, if that team desperately does just want that facelift, just wants that refresh, he's my like dark horse candidate for that kind of thing. I would hate to see him go personally, just from a Packers perspective, because he has helped the offense hum. I mean, it's pretty easy, I guess, when you have those kind of pieces there. But it would be very interesting if he ended up there.
Mm-hmm.
Unlikely, but interesting.
Yeah, Hackett, man, like he's a great offensive coordinator. Don't get me wrong, but he needs some more time. He needs some time to develop. He needs some time to mature. And sitting there and looking at it, like he's going to try and bring in, like, I just don't like the system that they run for the Green Bay Packers with the Atlanta Falcons, because the Atlanta Falcons struggle on the offensive line. You need a really good offensive line in order to operate the same way they do with the wide zone run scheme. And sitting there and looking at it, it just does not fit with Gurley if they bring him back. Like, there's not too many running backs in the free agent market outside of maybe Aaron Jones. No, I'm just kidding. Aaron Jones doesn't really fit the system either. But
they followed him. Interestingly enough, though, what I thought was he had so much experience with offensive lines, because he was the offensive line coach, I think, for a number of years for a number of different teams. So it's like, yes, the system, to your point, would not fit at all him. But what if his experience helped him actually get over that atrocious O-line? Probably wishful thinking, but you never know.
Very true. Dustin, are you on board with Jake over there? Or are you calling him crazy?
I think it's crazy. I think he's maybe
any chance that I get to ask Dustin if Jake is crazy, I'm going to do it.
I think
he's a couple years away from getting a legitimate head coaching opportunity. Like you said, little green behind the ears yet. I think I'm with you, Chase, with Joe Brady here.
Nobody's really talking about it either. Nobody's really talking about it. It's kind
But
of
that's my problem with this too, is that I feel like this is the least spoken about position. Like I haven't heard anything. I feel like it's very minimal, which makes me think something weird is going on.
like Stranger Things.
Like I'm almost like with Jake on this. Like I think that it's going to be a surprising hiring for some reason. Like usually, I'm not totally convinced that like I just am not totally bought into that because it's so quiet. Why is everyone so quiet? You're creeping me out. Like
I want Joe Brady to stay another year. By the way, with Carolina, I think he could benefit from it to see an organization grow because he's only spent time with successful organizations. He's never built one up from the ground, from the ground up. But like I said, I mean, this organization is just so reliable and so trustworthy when keeping candidates. So,
Well, here's the thought. What about them bringing in the DC from San Francisco as their head coach to help focus on that defensive side of the ball, which they've struggled with for years. And then he brings in an offensive coordinator that will
like Jason Garrett. Yes.
No, not Jason Garrett.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. I love that. I love that for them. What a journey. Have fun.
What a journey. Get out of here, Steph.
No, but that's actually not a bad thought, to be honest. I think this is going to be a little bit more surprising. Like, I don't think it's just a done deal as much as it is in some other places.
Third and short. Jesus Christ. All right. So about a guy named Brady. I can't with you, man. All right. So that covers the Falcons for the most part. I still want to see more, but, Joe Brady makes sense. Interdivisional hiring where he could, he knows the system for the Panthers, an up-and-coming team. He's got some time. He's got some veterans behind him. But Saleh makes sense. Hackett, but it would make things fun.
It's fine. I'm crazy. I get it. I understand.
I am with you. I think that something weird is going to happen there.
Oh, God. All right. So let's go ahead and hop onto the Jets. And honestly, I think this is Robert Saleh, and it's locked. Like, I think the Jets are going to offer him a shit ton of money. This is another defense-heavy guy who could be a better version of Rex Ryan. He's not as insulting, but he's still high energy. And I think that the Jets might miss the time that they had with Rex Ryan. I mean, he did get him to the playoffs a couple years in a row, and I know he's not the best head coach or anything like that, but Robert Saleh, it just seems like a Jets hire. I mean, the Jets were, top 5 or top 10 in defense for how many years in a row? I mean, doesn't it just make perfect sense when you think about it that way?
18-22 when that was like the case.
Plus, they're going to find a way to screw over Sam Darnold anyways.
And they're going to hire Jason Garrett, so it doesn't matter.
They're not going to hire Jason Garrett.
This is what you do. You manifest into the universe.
He loves Jason Garrett so much.
Say it enough times.
He
it will happen. It's like Beetlejuice.
Somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Like if I'm manifesting. I don't know. Girls do that. I don't know what normal girls do. I watch fucking football.
Do you write it on the, what's that board that you make? A dream board? What the hell is it called? That's a thing.
I made a movie board, but I made it of the Saints. I made it of what's his face? I don't know if you guys saw it. It was so funny on Sunday. I didn't get that many likes, but I thought it's all about me. I laughed. So like I don't really care if he laughed. It's funny to me. But yeah, they might hire Jason Garrett. Like it's not totally out of the question.
So the funny part about today was there was like a 4-hour-long interview or 5-hour-long interview with Robert Saleh. And in my mind,
it's okay.
The FF realist over here commented that he thinks the Jets were dumb to let Saleh leave the building today.
Yeah, they should have.
I don't think they let him leave. I think he forced his way out because he wanted to check his options. And they had like security guards, offensive linemen who can't block at the door trying to keep Robert Saleh. And I was like, man, I'm a DC. I can get through this. It took him a little bit of time. It took him some time to get out the door, but he made his way out. And that's why he's interviewing with the Eagles, because he wants to check his options. But I think the Jets made it very, very difficult for him to leave. That's at least my point.
Yeah. I think that also with all these openings, I think when a team announces that they invited someone for an interview, then another team gets a little bit excited. They're like, oh, fuck, we didn't think of that. So then you wonder, like, now is a team going to be interested in him? And he's like, oh, wow, this is really the Jets. And like Adam Gase really screwed this entire program over. And it's like a lot to handle, where you could go to a program that's in a better position and maybe have more success off the bat.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, sitting there looking at it, Dustin, do you have another player, or Jake, do you have another coach, that actually makes sense over there with the Jets?
You got anybody, Dustin?
No,
because here's one I would like to throw a Molotov cocktail just real quick, and then I'd just walk away completely.
Please don't say Matt LaFleur.
What happens if Doug Peterson just switches on over to the Jets.
I'm for it. I think it would be great. Chef's kiss. Just sign the seal of death over there too.
Wouldn't it kind of be great? Because I almost do feel like with Peterson, like, yeah, the results speak for themselves. But it's not like the guy was the very worst thing that happened a couple of years ago. He just lost his way. What if he gets to start over? And again, low bar. And so that's why I feel like anybody that interviews with the Jets has a real good shot at it.
So interestingly enough, I thought that he had a job lined up like week 6. I'm like, why is he calling plays like that? Like, what is happening over there? Like, this guy has to have a job. So
he needs a year off. He needs 1 year off, and they'll be good to go.
Needs that Mike McCarthy vacation so he can really come back strong. Is that what you're saying?
I think he needs to evaluate his coaching style because from what we heard of it, he lost the locker room completely. And so sometimes when you're forced to stay away from football, if you get hired right off the bat, you don't have that time to kind of digest what happened and how you handled situations. And although you think you do, and you're like, man, I did not handle that the best way, blah, 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 you never have time to figure out the best way to do it. So I think this could be this could actually be a saving grace for Doug Peterson's career. If he can just have a year off football, or if he goes back to a system that has great head coach and he can kind of realize what the head coach was doing that he was doing wrong,
I think that's totally fair and very level-headed of you. And I'm just not used to that when talking about fantasy football, so I appreciate it.
Anytime. I mean, what?
It's not realistic, I think, with him. I think what he did from a league perspective was like there shows like no integrity. I mean, the GM and the owner came out and said that was his choice and that they did not tell him to throw the game. So I think that he also lost a lot of respect league-wise too. So his best choice is probably going to the NCAA. I mean, like I don't see him. I mean, it's gonna be hard for another team to hire him and be super confident.
Well, so wait, do we have another pick for the Jets coach, or are we just locked on Robert Saleh and Doug Peterson?
Please let those be the only two options.
Yeah,
I would love it so much.
And he basically flipped them off. So,
all right, I got to go Chargers on this next one, and this is my favorite job, my favorite coach, the ball. Like, I know that sitting there looking at it, Carson ended up helping him in the offseason. Not Chris Carson, the little brother, who's like a offensive guru, but at the same time, the ball's been there for all the years that Josh Allen's been there. And he was the one calling plays and putting Josh Allen in positions to win time and time and time again. So is DeBall your favorite future head coach potentially? And is there a better coach to coach the Chargers?
I don't know if there's a better coach to coach them. I almost wonder if his talents would be underutilized at an organization that already has first of all, that's fucking amazing.
He's talking about manifest Jason Garrett out of the Giants stat.
Because I was going to say New York, but like I want him to go anywhere so he can stay in New York. Just get the fuck off my team.
Just go to a different section of New York.
Go to high school.
Any other borough would be terrific.
Yeah.
I do wonder though, like, wouldn't his best skills be a little underutilized at an organization that already has their fucking franchise QB looking great? Not that any QB cannot improve and grow, and it would be great to have him backing a stud like Justin Herbert. I just wonder if the pull would be greater elsewhere by somebody who desperately needs that kind of thing. The question, I guess, is if the other organizations realize that they desperately need that thing too. And I don't know.
Their contract? Is that what you're coming up?
No, I mean, literally just like what's a garbage quarterback situation that he can walk in and help out with the most? Does that make sense? Besides, yeah, fair. Well, there we go. He's going to the Jets.
No, but we all know he's not going to the Jets. Like that's the biggest thing. It's like we gotta be kind of level-headed about this. But
do we know? I think everyone's gonna get freaky this offseason. Like shit's gonna get fucking weird. This is gonna be the weirdest offseason we've seen since I don't even know when. Like
last year.
I didn't find that last year that I was chill with last year, to be honest.
We didn't have any off-season programs or nothing.
No, I mean like as far as drafting and the coaching. And
I know, we're just giving you shit.
Oh, well, it was a bad joke.
All right, so Dustin, do you have a coach that could, be a better help out to the Chargers than Duval?
Probably not, but even with any of these open positions, do you think some of these coaches that have tried and failed in the past as head coaches, like your Todd Bowles or Steve Spagnuolo, do you think any of them might get another shot here with so many openings? Or is
another year?
Okay.
Spags probably does too. Roman makes things interesting as like another candidate for this team. Developed rushing attack from the quarterback position, which we all know that Justin Herbert has wheels. So that makes it interesting. But overall, some of these older guys, they're not getting the same shots that they got before. Like these guys aren't getting second chances. Like I haven't even heard anything. Has Josh McDaniels even had an interview?
I don't think so.
I haven't heard anything about him.
I honestly forgot about him, low-key. Like until you said that name, I haven't heard one thing about him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these older coaches and stuff, they're just not getting those second and third chances, and especially on the defensive side. On the offensive side, maybe more so. But I feel like Greg Roman might be the only guy who's had multiple, head coaching opportunities before, although I don't think he was a head coach at any point. Was he?
I think the old guys are finding their way more into the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, like positional coaching, even too, going down the line.
Way
great
type position.
Who's a name that's not coming up? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you have had it. I was going to make a dumb fucking comment like always, so go ahead.
Because when I make my dumb comment, I'll look smarter. So can you make yours first?
Yeah, I was just going to say that they do that because they still need a little bit of wiseness on the team, but they don't want to make it the focal point because that wiseness is also a lot of times just really fucking outdated. So they're like, well, we'll bring them on as more of almost a consultant role.
Yeah.
Right.
And it makes sense. It actually does make sense. So
right.
I actually like that take.
You know who is super wise is Jason Garrett. So like
I swear to God, Stephie.
I'm married. I have control. I'm on yours. I'm on the company site, so I can get back on it. Okay, wait. But you know the name that hasn't brought up that I think would be a really good offensive coordinator?
I swear to God, you say Jason Garrett again, I'm going to flip shit.
No, why would I say Jason Garrett? He's maybe the worst offensive coordinator I've ever watched, so I don't care. But is Chad O'Shea on the Browns?
Yeah, that's a good one.
He would do very well as an offensive coordinator, I think. He was with the Pat system. He was in Miami, but right now I feel like he's not being utilized well. But I think he would do so good as an offensive coordinator.
That's a great point. Great point.
That's me manifesting him to New York.
So let's take a look at the lines real quick, right? Because I know you're saying ooh, but sitting there looking at like the fact they could re-sign Galladay. Stafford's a serviceable bridge quarterback, up until they can develop a rookie, and they get an early pick to where they can get the rookie of their choice. Well, not of their choice, but, to an extent. Plus, he has trade value after this year. Young offensive line, good draft pick. Swift looks like a star. Hawkinson is showing out. He's a star, man. He really is. I love it.
My star.
They have some young defensive pieces who struggled this year, but they flash. Bieniemy makes sense, but honestly, I don't know if Bieniemy can end up there. He can sign his quarterback of the future, which is what I love. But I feel like Bieniemy is getting so much hate right now that he is not going to get a shot with Detroit. And I think that Bieniemy could end up landing with another team, which we're going to talk about. I'm going to go with Arthur Smith. How are you guys feeling about that? If they can keep improving their offensive line, they had two very good PFF-rated offensive linemen in Decker and who was their center this year? Not Glasgow. Anyways, Ragnow. Yes. So sitting there looking at it, they have the offensive line to support the system with Arthur Smith. Swift isn't really built for that, but at the same time, if he can alter it slightly, it makes sense. Is there another coach that could fit the Lions better than Arthur Smith? Or they could find Stephie, you're smiling. I feel like you're ready to go off because you're about to say Adam or not Adam Gase. You're about to say.
She's probably she's going to swap it out and put Adam Gase in this time and go back to Jason Garrett next time.
I really do think for some reason that Adam Gase is going to get hired again. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I think he has this, like,
Adam Gase is her answer for every.
I think he hypnotizes people. Like, I don't know how he gets jobs. He's like, he couldn't be worse. And like, I think he just takes the fact that like one time he was on the staff with Peyton Manning and now like he's like acting like he developed the crap out of him and like he's a super good coach and it's that thing. So I think he will play, but not in this scenario. The Lions are they have to do a good job with who they pick though. This is a tough scenario over there because this is a franchise that's going to go either up or very far down. Like there's going to be no middle ground here. So
I think they're going to make a huge mistake if they hire a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Huge mistake.
Well, I mean, it depends on your
Chad O'Shea. No. Okay.
Yeah, I think they went down that path with Patricia, so they're not going to do that again. They're going to pivot in the totally other direction.
You're right. It's fine because then he can come to New York, so it doesn't matter.
But now if they make that pivot, they have to have a quarterback who can actually make that pivot worthy for them. The question, so if Stafford stays there, how long is left on that back of his? Yeah, I contribute to the chat too. All right.
You could literally go to Pop.
Oh, Steph over there asked the listeners, where should Jason Garrett land? And Jake Trowbridge said on a large stick.
It's factual.
That's like too nice. Like, I think they could just put him on like a raft, and like they did in what's that movie with Lindsay Lohan, Parent Trap? Like, put him on a raft and just like set him off into the sea, and then wherever he lands is like perfect for him.
I think mine is better. I think mine's more painful than that. He gets to like take basically a cruise on a raft in your scenario.
There's no food.
What if he just sits on it?
Okay,
like the stick is his raft? What if the stick is his raft?
A stick on the mattress, so he has to do both.
I'm saying, what if he just sits on a large stick?
He'll probably never mind.
I love our Wednesday shows.
I'm so glad Matt isn't here for this. We would have lost every bit of respect possible.
I've never been so serious my whole. I literally almost peed my pants while you were saying it. I was fully prepared.
We're at 1 hour and 11 minutes. We need to clip out. Why doesn't Garrett just sit on a stick? Okay. Make sure we tag Matt in that for our show highlight.
Well, why don't we do let's do a part 1 and part 2. I was thinking like part 1 with Matt, Steph being very serious, no stick talk, and then part 2, whatever is happening.
We're losing followers so fast right now. We were at 31. We were at 31 followers or listeners, and we're down to 9 right now.
You found your core of really good listeners now, is what that's telling me.
These are the homies.
God, I love it.
Okay, now we're down to 8.
7, 6,
the more we talk about it, the more they go away.
Stop.
6, 7.
Let's get back to the Lions. Somebody talk about the
Lions.
Your turn. I interrupted.
I will say,
person land with the Lions.
I will say legitimately, if there's anybody that's not the enemy that's going to go hang out with the Lions, they have to know what's happening with the quarterback situation. And I don't know, like, you get 1 year of Stafford, I guess, potentially, and then he's traded if his back holds up. It's a very influx thing, and they have to have somebody who can corral. Yes, the pieces are there, but what if Galladay does not stick around? Because that whole thing with the holdout, that wasn't really a holdout this year, also freaks me out. So they could be losing guys. There's a big flux situation there. And so if you can bring in a coach who has some fucking basic common sense, who can actually corral all these guys, then that's great. And it might not have to be flashy to be effective.
I kind of think it needs to be a big name. I think it needs to be a respected name so that they don't lose people. Because I think if they get someone in there, I think they'll sign, seal, deliver, like Galladay staying there. Because I think that Galladay's situation with his injuries, I think that he is kind of in a bad place. I actually don't see him leaving. I think that they're kind of stuck with him, to be quite honest. I mean, they want to be stuck with him, but I think Galladay is more stuck than he thinks. They can
franchise him.
I think they're going to tag him. That's why with him, I think he's definitely getting tagged. But
yeah, he'll end up with them next year. I don't think these can become free.
They need someone in there that like demands respect. So like they can't take a clown over there by any means, because then it's just that organization is going to be so much worse than the situation they're in right now.
Honestly, like with Bieniemy though, like is he really that good? Because I mean, he has the best quarterback in the NFL. He has the best tight end in the NFL. He has a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. A very good offensive line. I mean, is he really as good as what he comes off? I mean, we sit there and we look at it. There's only one coach from the Andy Reid coaching tree that has actually made it past 5 years. And that's like 20 years long. So I don't think that's the case. I don't.
That's the big issue, right? That's why people were talking about the possibility of him not landing that spot as the woes of the coaching tree from Andy Reid. And obviously, like, look, it happens with some coaches and it doesn't happen with other coaches. And you can look at Belichick and make some of the same mentions there that it doesn't really work. And people are maybe finally catching on to that, as opposed to 3 years ago where anybody who sniffed Sean McVay in a hallway got a fucking head coaching job automatically. And maybe they're rising up. Yes, I know. I admit that as a homer here, that looks and sounds dumb, but it's also true.
Man, Dustin, do you have somebody?
Outside of the guys you already talked about, no, I don't see anyone else going there.
So Arthur Smith is the best candidate, right?
I guess by default.
Yeah.
I think he's a good fit.
What is your biggest attribute for Arthur Smith? I'm curious.
Yeah, why are you so obsessed with him? I feel like you're kind of like into him a little bit. Like it's.
I'm into the ball. The ball is my my man crush for the coaches.
Ball? That's what you came up with. That was
he's my daddy crush, I guess. Is that what they call it? The daddy crush?
Sure.
It depends. There's daddies. So it just kind of depends. But
wait, there's what and there's what?
There's daddies. There's zaddies. You can't pick your dad, but you can pick your daddy.
Is that a daddy wearing Zuba's pants? Is that a zaddy? Is that what I'm understanding?
Or daddy doing Zumba. You never know.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Okay, talk back about.
There goes another 2 followers. Quick, get back on track.
Reaction went up, just for the record. No, but I was sitting there looking at it. I like Arthur Smith in his play calling, like the way that he schemes his tight ends to kind of take the safeties off of the underneath routes and whatnot. It makes a lot of sense for the way that the Detroit Lions could go with a newer quarterback. And the way that he's developed Tannehill. Well, not developed Tannehill, but been able to protect Tannehill compared to years with the Dolphins also is very important for rookie quarterbacks. So sitting there and looking at how he's been able to, I guess slowly develop offenses as a whole is extremely important, especially for rookie quarterbacks. And Matt Stafford probably is not going to make it past 2021, actually. He'll probably be, traded off by 2022. They're probably going to have a rookie. And I think that he just is an ideal candidate to develop a rookie quarterback. Although he hasn't done it, it's still his play calling that just makes it magical.
Right. And then when Jason Garrett is there, I feel like Jason Garrett's probably better. He'll probably do way better there.
Steph?
I'm manifesting.
Their play calling does not match up. Okay.
He doesn't match anywhere. What do you mean? How many times can you call an Ingram reverse before you want to shoot yourself in the face? Like, I don't understand that. So I think that he would do great there, though.
All right, let's hop on to the Texans. The Texans, jeez. This is the worst spot for me, like we already talked about. Whoever goes here, they need a very long-term deal. Like, I'm talking about like 5+ years, like guaranteed. Like, we're talking about John Gruden type contract. Joe Brady makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, he's probably going to end up getting ruined there. So this is tough. I want to go with Bieniemy, because of Sean Watson's demands, but I feel like Greg Roman might be the best candidate. It's a mess.
Ew.
But
Mess.
you do just look for tenure then at that point, like somebody established that is worthwhile for a long rebuild. Yeah. Is that kind of your biggest classification there, your biggest attribute?
I don't know. I don't know what can fix the Texans. I feel like this is a worse team if Watson leaves than what they started with as an expansion team. Like, that's how many holes are on this team.
You're wrong.
Okay.
Did they even have a single Pro Bowler outside of Watson?
Getting really riled up. Like, that's a little dramatic. No,
It's not. It's really not. How many they were worse in almost every single category outside of just.
It's gonna be fine. Jason Garrett is gonna go over there and he's gonna save them, and it's gonna be awesome. And they're gonna make it to the playoffs next year.
Guys, if she says we just lost 8 followers or 8 listeners.
Okay, but the followers I remember because I retweeted it and I told them that I was talking about Jason Garrett.
Oh my God. I can't with you. I can't.
Well, whatever. I have to manifest it. I swear to God, if he's on the team next year, I can't. It makes me sick.
He's gonna be.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. I'm manifesting the other way.
The universe is fucking listening to you right now.
Yes, I know. They always listen. The universe always listens to me.
Whatever.
Okay, so
Can't wait for you guys to have no quarterback next year.
how do you guys feel about the Texans? Like, I mean, look at their roster. It is barren. It is absolutely barren.
I hate it. I hate that we're even talking about it, quite frankly.
So who's the best quarterback to go in there fix it? I mean, Roman makes sense, right?
He does.
I hate the pick, but I
especially with what you've seen, what he's done with Lamar Jackson. I know Watson isn't the same quarterback, but he's got the running ability, better passer. I think he could do something with him there and make that offense even more explosive. But that's such a tall ask, though, for anyone that goes there.
Don't you feel like everyone's a little bit quiet? Like, I feel like there might be some things that we're not hearing. I think like stuff is brewing. No, I'm saying like I feel like some of these teams, there's no way they're actually going to go with these guys. I don't know.
I think once the first team signs their coach, then all the dominoes are going to drop really.
Every time. People start getting fear of loss, and they start, thinking that everybody else is going to grab it all up.
Yeah, they'll get desperate, and then someone will sign Jason Garrett.
Oh my God, what if the Texans end up with Marvin Lewis, and we just have to watch like 4 years of a giant trash heap?
Well, we're going to see that anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true, but he will be actively finding matches from people to throw out.
You know what is worse than that is having to watch Mike McCarthy on Dallas. Like, is there anything worse than that? Probably not.
Mike McCarthy, Marvin Lewis actually makes a little bit of sense, though.
You didn't catch me there. I just wanted to.
I didn't mean it seriously. God damn it.
He's like the bridge guy. He's like the bridge quarterback, right? Who's just there to save face for a few years before he gets replaced. And that makes so much sense for Marvin Lewis. It makes so much sense. Because Marvin Lewis used to be the placeholder. He's just being mediocre. And if he can get this team to mediocre, I will be shocked. But he's capable of doing that, and we all know it.
Is he capable of mediocrity? Yeah,
yes.
He sure is.
He's not good at being bad.
Is he capable of anything beyond mediocrity? Absolutely.
No.
Especially with that team. I think you're right. If he got that team to an 8-8 season somehow, it would be a fucking miracle without Watson there, presuming that Watson is straight.
Somehow. So we're going to emphasize and highlight that word is somehow.
But would you even be shocked? Would you even be shocked because it's Marvin Lewis?
I would still actively be shocked if he got them to an 8-8 season without Deshaun Watson.
That team is inexcusable. They've had plenty of times where I can't believe that there is like they just shouldn't be in the position that they're even in, kind of.
You know what would be a nightmare? Is just being a fan is Stafford. Stafford going to the Texans in a trade.
No. Imagine them taking Trubisky.
You know what? I actually do not hate that. The only reason I do not hate that.
Oh, I'm trolling right now.
But hear me out. Suppose that Trubisky does go over to the Texans. He is just mediocre enough that if you paired him with Marvin Lewis, you would get like that beautiful 6-10 season that he could hang on his mantle because nobody expected anything out of this group. Now watch game manager Mitch Trubisky and ultimate mediocre coach Marvin Lewis take them to not the promised land, but not the promised land. And he won't completely disappoint everybody, but disappoint them also because he won't get a number 1 pick for like 5 years.
You're at least going to get fans back at that point.
It kind of reminds me of Minshew last year. Like Minshew, who pretty much played them out of contention for, Joe Burrow. Like it's.
I do like Minshew a lot more than Trubisky, but your point still stands because yes, that's exactly what would happen.
But more importantly, did you know that if you crop a mustache onto my face, I look like Minshew?
It is kind of strange.
Very,
I think about it.
Very true. Like we might be twins. I think we were separated at birth. I'm not even kidding.
So-
I'm gonna find the picture and send it to you guys. It's very crazy.
Greg Roman is
Jason
the answer for the Texans.
so pissed that he didn't ask Dave or someone else. Come on. Go.
No, I don't get mad. Like this is the Wednesday show. We get to bullshit and hang out. This is fun.
Oh, I thought that was yesterday's show. We
No,
bullshit
what-
every show.
It's all the best shows.
Yeah.
But why
But
do
we
you
did
like
this
Greg
with
Roman
guests.
for this? Why do you like Greg Roman for this?
I'm gonna mute myself because I'm having a hard time not talking over people.
Oh my god! All right, so sitting there looking at like Greg Roman has the rushing, capabilities, but he's just a veteran coordinator. And honestly, like I wanted to put Bieniemy here, but I couldn't think, like I thought the Bieniemy ended up with a different team, so I couldn't put him here. And I don't really have anybody else that would be able to manage the Texans in a better way. I mean, Marvin Lewis actually does make sense. Like he makes sense. I don't love it, but he makes sense. Like it's sensible,
But a short contract, not a long contract for Marvin
Like
Lewis.
3
Can we agree
years.
on that?
He would need 3 years.
Sure, but not a minute more.
God. She's in the backup posting show.
I
That was
regret
her, by the
bringing
way.
up Marvin Lewis so much.
Oh my God. I like Marvin Lewis, so I don't hate it. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I mean, it's just Greg Roman. That's the reality of it. Greg Roman just seems sensible. So let's go ahead and let's hop on to, I believe, our last team, correct? Yeah, this is our last team. You got the Eagles. And I think this is where the Eagles actually go to, right?
Yeah, I guess, but
Bieniemy? Like Bieniemy just makes sense. Like Andy Reid disciple. They want an offensive guy. They want a guy that's good with quarterbacks. I'm not convinced that Bieniemy's a good coach, but yes, Steph.
But they also have a really bad front office, and I just feel like they could make a mistake here, kind of.
Yeah, but they have a very powerful front office who wants a pawn, and Bieniemy's never going to demand roster considerations, I guess. Like he's always going to just be a coach, at least in my opinion.
That's 100% their mistake.
But yeah, but that's how they operate. That's who they want. So every single time I go through it, the reality is Bieniemy, like he's going to make a late playoff run. He's already getting hit because he's part of the Andy Reid coaching tree, and I don't think anybody's going to want to coach for the Eagles. Like I really don't. So the Eagles could get to the end of the line and not have too many candidates left. Like I don't see Salah signing there. I don't see anybody to really interview.
Have only one option left is what might end up happening.
Exactly. That's why I like Bieniemy there.
It'll probably be Jason Garrett.
It's kind of like the perfect. Oh God damn it! No, Bieniemy. It's kind of like the perfect storm of Bieniemy. So I like that. I like the landing spot for Bieniemy to end up.
the enemy of my friend is the enemy. Isn't that what they say, Stephie? So in your situation as a Giants fan,
It's hot.
you should want that. Can I throw out another dark horse just to sling some shit here?
Yeah, no,
I
I'm all
hope
down
it-
for that.
I hope it will not be a Marvin Lewis situation here.
Oh God.
But I'd seen some reports floating out. By the way, it's not like I know a lot about these coaches and what they're truly going to do, but I like to sniff the air. And Lincoln Riley's name came up.
Lincoln Riley's a good one too.
And it's interesting because the background is there with Jalen Hurts. So if you want somebody and you're dedicated to making the transition away from Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts and go young, and again, the experience is not like wild, slappy in the face. But if Bieniemy is truly out of the picture for all teams for some reason because of his stink of the coaching tree with Andy Reid, maybe somebody like that is interesting to take a look at.
Yeah.
So Club Fantasy over there, you guys should check him out on Twitter. Club Fantasy FFL. They said the Eagles are going to fuck it up.
Did I
because
not?
He's an Eagles fan.
I literally said that. That was what I said. They're going to
But-
fuck and they're going to hire Jason Garrett.
They're not going to hire Jason. Get off, Jason Garrett.
It's
I
not
swear to God.
impossible. It's not impossible. You're acting like Jason Garrett's not going to get a job. He's going to get a job. He's better off than Adam Gase is. He still had success as a head coach. He sucks as
Stop.
offensive coordinator.
It's not going to happen. Get off it. All right, so they're going to settle for an unknown in circles like Kafka, which makes sense because it's still under the same coaching tree is Andy Reid.
I'm not high top.
Then we also have Staley. Staley needs to become an offensive coordinator somewhere, man. He is so good with running backs. He's so talented with running backs. Imagine if Staley made it to the Cleveland Browns and coached with the offensive line coach, Bill Callahan, got a run-heavy team with Stefanski. Oh, my God. It'd be like the best running staff you could ever ask for. And Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt run for over 100 yards in every single game. But no, they don't need that. So sitting there looking at it, I don't know if Staley will earn a head coaching job. If they do, it's going to be out of spite. And I think that it'll, like, just because he's been talking shit about him to an extent, like he wanted, you know, a little bit more responsibility. But I think that they have to kind of go big at this point. If they're going to fire Doug Peterson, they have to get a reputable name. So how do you feel about it, Dustin?
Yeah, I'll buy it. Again, he's going to be presumably coaching in the Super Bowl at this point. So teams are going to start hiring before then. So I think, like you said, the Eagles could be kind of on the short end of the stick of waiting if that's their guy. And that may who they end up with out of lack of options.
Yeah, I feel like the enemies just makes too much sense. It does. So we have been in here for a while. Let's go ahead and real quick, is there anybody that stands out for a free agent on the show sheet that has a new home? We don't have to go into depth. Like I was thinking about covering every position, but is there a free agent that you like to go to a new place? Like Aaron Jones for me for the Arizona Cardinals just makes so much sense, and I'm like in love with that. Like I get hard every time I think about it. So why isn't it happening stuff?
Why? Because they would be morons to get rid of him. Are you kidding me? He's like
What?
Aaron Jones?
Yeah, they don't have salary cap space to resign him.
I mean, they'll figure it out. It's the fucking Packers. I don't
He
know.
also doesn't fit their scheme, which is why he hasn't played. He's played like
It doesn't matter in the scenario that they're in. You just keep him. Who cares? He just helps you out a little bit more. Like the guy he has
they have AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon is a god. Have you seen his thighs? Watch your damn quick shot, Steph. Jesus Christ.
Oh, it's okay. You can be upset, and like it's fine. But Aaron Jones is not going anywhere, and I love that for you that you're excited. But even you look at it this way, then everyone's trying to make an argument that maybe Aaron Rodgers isn't fucking retiring. You guys are crazy. It's never going to happen. If that were to even happen, you want someone like Aaron Jones still on the fight. You don't get rid of Aaron Jones. That's crazy. That is, look at the rest of the names on this list. Like this is nothing compared. I don't get excited about any of these other names except for Aaron Jones. Why would you let that go? If he goes somewhere else, he's just going to destroy everyone.
Stephie, you mean Jeff Wilson Jr. doesn't get you just rock hard thinking about all the potential that he has untapped there?
I'm like super dry when I see Leonard Fournette's name. Like nothing makes me drier than that. Like that is awful. Like I don't care about. There's not another. I'm being dead serious. I guess James Conner is the only one that kind of is like, oh, that's
What?
I might flirt with it. No, fuck these people. Like, there's nothing on here. Boston Scott, I guess. Like, I don't know. No.
Here's what's interesting to me about the Aaron Jones thing. And Dustin and I have talked about this a lot on our podcast because, again, we're fucking homers. And it's our podcast and we can dedicate whatever time we want to the Packers. And we do a lot. And Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams is gone. One of those two is gone.
Get rid of Williams. That's not even a question.
One of them for sure.
No, because they don't have the salary cap space. They don't have a ton of space, and they also don't pay their free agents very often to stick with the team. It's very strange. But the biggest thing is the fact that the wide zone run scheme, the reason why Aaron Jones hasn't played a ton is because of the scheme that they run. Typically, when Aaron Jones sits, it's not because of fumbles. It's not because of inability to generate yards on certain plays. It's because of the fact that he runs back and forth behind the line like a scared little mole rat trying to find cover, and he doesn't go upfield and find the hole like this scheme is designed to do. And if you don't do that, then guess what? The team doesn't want you because the whole scheme is set up on the run game.
You're forgetting about something. There's two wizards in the NFL. There's two wizards, like magical creatures that can make anything happen, right?
AJ Dillon?
No. The first one is Bill Belichick, And the second one is Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers tells them that Aaron Jones is not fucking going anywhere, guess what? Aaron Jones isn't going anywhere. And
Now,
that's
I would like to back that up because I love Aaron Rodgers, and yes, he is magical.
But that's not the case. They don't have
However,
an
he
owner.
couldn't get them to keep Jake Kumaro this offseason, so I don't think he has the pull that I want him to have, which I want him to be able to have personnel decisions.
we have a lot of waste on the Packers like roster that you could cut to be able to pay him. Like there's people that don't
Look at their
field.
draft and say
I'm
it again.
telling you what the scenario is.
I'm telling you, look at their draft and say that again, because they drafted running back in the second round. They drafted a quarterback in the first round.
And they're the first, and they're still probably going to go to the fucking Super Bowl. It doesn't
I
matter.
know. I love it. But that has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers didn't tell him to go draft a
Yes,
quarterback
he
and a running back.
Yes, he did.
Can we talk about Chris Carson for a quick
I love
second?
it.
Because I hate when mommy and daddy fight, and I can't handle all the tension. But I want to talk about Chris Carson, if that's okay, for a really
This
quick
is
minute.
amazing.
But sure.
Because Chris Carson was one of my dudes coming into this year. I was so about him, and not from a super long-term perspective, but for this year, I really believe Chris Carson was going to be the fucking shit because I thought the coaching staff was going to lean into the run like Pete Carroll has talked about now that the offseason's done, and next year they're going to apparently go back to that. So fuck you, Russ, apparently. But Chris Carson has, without take away the injuries, which I know is hard to say, but if just ideally he could land on another team, does Chris Carson not make? Oh, go ahead. Before I even say what,
We
what
need to make
team
her
would
wait.
you pick?
We need to make her wait. So
No,
she-
maybe I'll mute myself. I'll just.
Okay, I was
love
going to
it.
say,
I love this shit. I'm having so much fun.
what team does Chris Carson not make sense on? Really, besides the established folks who have your fucking Derrick Henrys and your CMCs and whatnot, what team does he not go into? And I'm not saying he's a world beater, but he's basically like Carlos Hyde times 5 in that he's good enough to fit in any scheme. He's not great enough to surpass any scheme. So where does he go?
I would like
If
to
you
bring
want
up.
to move down with him, you can just say that.
I would like to bring up the Miami factor over there, which Club Fantasy Football brought up. That's a great place for Carson to end up, where they don't spend a ton of cap. They can actually draft a younger player as well, and take time to develop them to an extent. Although running backs typically don't need to develop, but still you can take a year to kind of ease them in. If Chris Carson get a 1 year, maybe $10 million contract. The other place that I really like is the Chiefs.
Does
Interesting.
everyone know that not every single player can go to Miami? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, every single player that comes up, they're like, they're going to Miami. They're not.
They have so much
every-
cap space.
I don't like players that get hurt like he does. So you're never going to convince. Like, I don't care where this guy goes. He's not going to have a good rest of his career. He's done.
Would you rather have Jordan Howard there next year or Chris Carson there next year?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna like offer me, if that's my option, I mean, I'm gonna have Carson, but I don't think he's gonna do anything that's gonna really, as all of us would say, get us going. Like, I don't think that that's gonna be like something that's super exciting. I feel like Dusty should comment on this since everyone else.
Yes.
I actually think it would be fun to see him go play for the Jets.
Yeah, that's a way funner option because then he can just ball out.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a team that's like, who the fuck cares? And just be Chris Carson and then get hurt after 3 weeks with the same injury for the 17th time.
But that's fine because they'll have Frank Gore ready and willing to take over when he does go down.
A million years.
What is Taylor doing awake right now?
I don't know. Go to bed, Taylor.
No, so with Chris Carson, though, I mean, sitting there looking at the stats from Jordan Howard, well, I don't have it in front of me, but from what I remember, he had like 15 carries for like 17 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks of the season. For the Miami Dolphins. So Chris Carson, I think, could be a little bit more efficient than 50. It might have been 17 carries for 15 yards, actually.
God damn
This
it.
But
is
either
a
way,
bad list.
God,
There's
God
nothing
damn
on
it.
here. You know who's not on this list that's very interesting is Gallman. I know I'm being a homer, but like he played very well. And I can't believe that he's not like Gallman is. I would say Gallman over at least like 50% of this list.
Gallman should be up there. I mean, he's still young, but I
Yeah,
don't
well,
think he's
where
that
is it
good.
on your little chart?
That
He's
wasn't
not-
my chart. I copied that chart from somebody else. Okay, I don't even remember who it was, but it was somebody really important, by
I
the
don't
way.
think your chart is all.
It was from somebody really important. All right, but
Dustin, do you want Curtis Samuel to come to the Packers? Yes or no? I want to talk about Curtis Samuel.
that's a good one.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
Like, I'm not buying the Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not buying the Chris Godwin, but Curtis Samuel makes a lot of sense if the Panthers don't re-sign him.
They run jet
really
sweeps
like
all the
that.
fucking time. He obviously has spent plenty of time in the backfield too to be like that utility guy. And we're and Tavon Austin is not the permanent solution there. For his fantasy value, it might kind of suck for him, unfortunately. But from a real life football perspective,
That's
I
a
would
cool
love it.
place. Yeah,
But
for fantasy it sucks.
Finally have his real number 2 wide receiver, which we know is fantasy relevant.
What's the player that you would hate to see the most sign with the Packers on the wide receiver list?
Okay, go ahead. You guys go first because you're homers. But
I don't want to go
Robinson,
first because I'm a homer.
on this list, there's a lot of people I would hate to see there. I mean, like, ew.
I don't want to see Will Fuller, Antonio Brown. Yeah, there's a lot on here I don't like.
Like for fantasy purposes, right?
Yeah.
I hate Juju and Allen Robinson here.
Corey Davis would do nothing over there. I think.
There's nobody that would do anything over there. I think, like, legitimately, if you're looking at a wide receiver 2 who can be super fantasy relevant, Chris Godwin is the only guy on here where I'm like, if he goes there legitimately and he can be used in the slot effectively there, maybe his talent is good enough where Aaron Rodgers actually makes him fantasy relevant. But it's kind of a little bit of a black hole.
Allen
on wide
Robinson?
receiver.
Are you kidding?
I like T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, that's not bad. I
Like T.Y. Hilton a lot.
AJ Green, but I still have faith in him. I think that it's fine.
I think AJ Green could produce there.
And Perry,
Not as a field stretcher.
what about Watkins? Like, no?
No. God, no.
Okay,
He would be just as relevant as MVS.
Nelson Aguilar can be the version of MVS now that apparently doesn't drop balls. So maybe if they just did a swip flop there.
MVS is really frustrating. I hate that for you guys. Like,
He's the worst.
annoying.
He's the best on like 1 out of every 8 plays, and then he's the worst for everything else.
He's so annoying.
He's our Jason Garrett in wide receiver form.
Hey, let's not talk about it. But Jason Garrett's not going to be the offensive coordinator. See, just talk it out. MVS is not going to get thrown balls. You just have to like speak it into existence, and maybe it'll happen. It probably won't, but it's okay.
God, I swear to God.
Where do you think do you guys think that Kenny Galladay is going to stay? Or does everyone disagree with me?
He's locked in.
I'm skeptical.
I
I
think
don't.
he's going to stay.
He's locked in, and they're going to sign Chris Godwin in the slot.
Godwin's days are also not as exciting to me anymore.
I love Godwin.
Really? Yeah, I still
He's my
definitely like.
dynasty wide receiver 3.
Whoa.
I'm
All
very
right.
nervous for you, and I'm absolutely cutting that clip because we need to have a discussion. You're what?
Oh my God, there are going to be so many clips cut from this episode.
Are
I
you
swear. This is going to be a regular thing with Stephanie.
Again, Chase, say it again. I just want to make sure you heard yourself a second time. What?
Godwin is my dynasty wide receiver 3. What the hell was that?
It was me vomiting.
That was a good vomit. It was half gag, half vomit.
Yeah.
This is what I deal with, guys. This is what I have to deal with on a regular basis.
Boy, I would not. I mean, that's bold, but yeah, God love you, Chase. Holy shit. My brain is having a meltdown at that
Who
process.
do you have him? Who do you have above him?
That's your worst take of the entire period. I have not. That is by far the worst take I've ever heard.
Who do you have above him?
Literally everyone else.
Marvin
Not
Jones.
I'm kidding. But
Kenny Galladay.
I feel like that's really high. No.
Yeah, don't forget he's only like 25 years old.
He's not as good as everyone
He
thinks.
hasn't even hit his prime yet, and he's producing as a top 12 wide receiver.
I would put Justin Jefferson over Chris Godwin.
Hell yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
I'll
Not
take
with Passy Line.
CeeDee Lamb over him.
And the uncertainty at quarterback. No. What? CeeDee Lamb? No. Maybe. No, I wouldn't. No, CeeDee Lamb's still too uncertain.
No. I'm making a poll. I'm doing a poll. One of these stupid polls everyone does. I'm doing it after this. Would you rather have CeeDee Lamb or Godwin? And you know what, Chase? You're going to lose.
Yeah, because it's you. All right, let's go ahead and let's go with Marlon Mack, because I just want to talk about Marlon Mack, and then we'll talk about the tight ends. I forgot I wanted to talk about Marlon Mack.
Quarterbacks. There's one that I really want to talk about.
Wait, you want to? Okay, let's talk about quarterbacks.
There's only two that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Dak, and I want to talk about Winston. So I want to know what people think about both of those. If they think that Winston is going anywhere, or if Prescott is going to end up leaving. I would leave on Prescott. So
I think Dak's going to end up signing with the Cowboys. I think they saw what a dumpster fire their team is without a legitimate quarterback. No thanks to Mike McCarthy.
Right.
And Jameis, he's going to end up signing somewhere. I think he will not be guaranteed a starting job somewhere, but I think he's going to go somewhere with a little bit of a questionable quarterback room and maybe get that opportunity to ball out in training camp and earn a starting job.
right. Like maybe Fitz goes somewhere else and he goes to the Dolphins almost. I could see that. And then if the Dolphins want to do that 2 QB like tango kind of deal, I just think
maybe like Denver, maybe.
Denver's a good one. I mean, Colts is also not horrific. Like, I could even see him going to Washington. Like, there's places for him to go. I think they need to. I mean, LASIK. He's not going to squint anymore. The guy can ball. It'll be fine.
Well, you already heard my take on this. Like, he should have ended up in Denver last year.
Really?
I want Jameis going to the Steelers, personally. That's what I would like to see as the succession to Ben Roethlisberger.
That's so fun.
But I don't know. I want everybody to go to the
He's a great player
Steelers
to end
because
there.
they need a successor, and it's fucking obviously it's not either of the backups they currently have there. So they need to start looking at that right away. And Jameis is still young enough. Like he really can get a fresh start somewhere with a quality coach. So
And he got his eyes cut into, guys. Like he really was doing it. Like someone just give him a break, okay? He couldn't see before. Like he got LASIK. Just let the man throw the ball. He will figure it out.
I can almost guarantee you he won't throw 30 interceptions in another season. I can almost guarantee you that.
Yeah, same.
So.
Me too. But okay, so with Dak, am I the only one that thinks that there's a possibility he doesn't end up back there?
Because I don't trust the coaching in total.
I think the only reason why he will end up back there is because he's a nice guy. If I was him, I would literally flick Jerry Jones off and I would leave that building and I would never come back.
I think the smart move is for him to stay there for all parties. Like Dustin said, like I think they saw what happened when he was gone. If you can look at that and make an honest assessment and not decide to keep him, then you're a fucking idiot. But my problem is they could be fucking idiots, and then he could walk out the door and go to any other team. Yeah. It's so tough to trust them.
Right. And also, I think that him coming back is maybe even worse for Zeke, to be completely honest. I've been trying to push this all season. No one believes me, but it's fine. I think that Zeke's going to just eat off of these like new guys on the team. And I think that we're going to see Zeke start coming out of the playbook.
Well, that's just Mike McCarthy. He hates running backs. So
exactly.
I have no faith for Zeke at all.
That's part of it, though. And then once that starts happening, and then it looks like Zeke is all of a sudden burnt, but he's maybe not necessarily burnt. It's just that they're utilizing other players, and Mike McCarthy is being Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, that's normally the case. I mean, it's something as to where, like, I feel like Dak needs to go to a new team, and the Cowboys need to kind of rebuild with some youth, but I just don't know if that's going to happen. Like, I feel like they're just going to stick where they're at. And I was a huge proponent earlier in the season when Dallas was on their losing streak to start the year after Dak got hurt. I thought that they would end up trading for the first overall pick, and the Jets would get Dak Prescott. Or I'm sorry, the Broncos would get Dak Prescott, and the Cowboys would trade 4 first-round picks for the first overall pick and move up and grab Trevor Lawrence. But I don't know if that's the case without Trevor Lawrence being there. I think that Dak's going to end up back there.
Do you think Carolina's defense is just not enough to make it a plausible landing spot for Dak in a win now? Like if they think what they need is a quarterback and they have all the other positions in place, do you think there's even a slight chance that would make sense?
No, Teddy Bridgewater was, I mean,
he's fine.
I think it makes sense.
He was very efficient. It makes sense, but they're not going to trade away pieces.
Like some of these guys are coming off 1,000-yard seasons. Like say Dak would be good. I think there's a few teams that he wouldn't be able to really have success on.
Matt Rule is great at building cultures, and he's great at building organizations. That's just what he's done. Every place he's gone, he spends 3 years there, and they always end up with a winning record towards the tail end of it. This is something as to where he's going to build it the right way, the way that it should be built, and that does not include Dak Prescott. It doesn't. I mean, Dak Prescott, by the time he's ready to go win, Dak is going to be close to 30 or so. And I know that's not a negative thing for the quarterback, but – same time, it's just not feasible. They're going to build the right way.
Badass. Him on the Colts would be really fucking cool. Like going from blue to blue and then just like crushing with everyone over there. He would do really well. Be sick.
Oh my
Not gonna
god.
happen. I just don't like Jerry Jones. Like I feel like he was so disrespectful right before he got hurt. And if I was Dak, there's no way him being like he'll never be like Mahomes. Who says that? It's your franchise quarterback. Are you crazy? The New York Giants would love to have Dak Prescott. Are you sick? Like the guy is awesome. Why are you talking shit saying he'll never get there? That's why he's Dak. Just come on. So if I'm Dak, I would rather go to a team that's going to praise me the way I should be and pay me the way I should be and not pay Zeke, who doesn't deserve the amount of money that he got this season.
Are you guys down to do 2 more players?
Sure.
All right. I want to talk about Marlon Mack because he was overly efficient this past year. He's going to get replaced by Jonathan Taylor. I mean, sitting there looking at like Marlon Mack with his evaded tackles, with his ability to escape the rushers, like this is something that Marlon Mack is very good running back, and he just never got the credit because they had a great offensive line in terms of pass blocking, but not in terms of run blocking. So Marlon Mack, is he a guy that you guys want to be targeting even for the Packers, to be honest? But I see more so with the Dolphins once again as we revisit the Dolphins as one of the biggest teams to pick people up.
I'd like him to go to, I'm just going to keep throwing this out there, put him on the Steelers. Like they need a running back change. And I don't think that they're in the position that they need to be spending high draft capital on these guys or necessarily can afford, if they are in the mood for a quarterback change, to be spending up on them. And Marlon Mack is a pretty reasonably priced acquisition, I would assume, based off of what you said. Like the optics for him are not that he's an elite running back. And I don't think that he is an elite running back, but he's a quality running back. And what they've not had is quality running backs in that offense.
We're running it all.
I love that take with the Steelers, man. That is sick. Like that's one of my favorite.
They got to get Big Ben out of there, man. You're not doing shit until you get that old man. He is so decrepit. Like I can't even handle it. He could barely walk during that game. I saw him trying to run, and it's like he's trying to skip because he needs like the kinetic energy to like get going, and like he literally can't get it. I think he's like the biggest problem over there. There's no reason this. Yeah, he's a huge issue. He can literally barely walk. Did you see him? He's like, I want to cut film. I have it. Like I have too much going on that I can't. But on my to-do list, I wrote down the time that I want to cut out, and he really looks like he needs a cane while he's on the football field. So, but I think that is actually a good match as long as they get rid of him.
Dustin, you haven't said anything in a minute.
Well, I'm just being so entertained over here by the right half of my screen.
We did it.
It's normally what people say when I'm scaring them. I apologize.
What do you guys think about Arizona? Kenny and Drake's probably not going to be back there. I don't think Chase Edmonds is the answer.
Aaron Jones is the answer, my friend.
But Marlon Mack could be the 1A to Chase Edmonds 1B in that offense.
So I kind of have them swapped. Like I said, I have the Dolphins as the main landing spot for Marlon Mack, and I have Aaron Jones as the main landing spot for Arizona. They could easily swap because they're the same running back, in my opinion. I think they're very similar.
I'm not sure how I feel about that comment, quite frankly.
Marlon Mack is above him in evaded tackles, above him in yards created from 2019 because he got hurt this year, and above him in one of the categories. Actually, he's top 3 or top 5 in multiple different categories. But they're
Chase,
same.
If you're just going to talk reasonable like this, then we can't have this discussion.
They're essentially in the same group. But don't forget, like Indianapolis just started to run the ball this year. Like that's where they actually, crank down. Like, hey, let's stop trying to pass the ball with these terrible quarterbacks we have because Andrew Luck isn't here anymore. Let's resign and play the ball and run the ball more often. But they both belong in the same exact offensive scheme. And I think that the Dolphins and I think that the Arizona Cardinals have a very similar scheme overall. All right, so let's go ahead and hop on the tight ends. We have Hunter Henry, we have Jonnu Smith, we have Rob Gronkowski, Jared Cook, Gerald Everett, Trey Burton, Robert Tonyan. Let's say that Robert Tonyan gets re-signed because I expect him to, right? Does anybody expect Robert Tonyan to not get re-signed?
He goddamn better.
Maybe
because the restricted free agents, I expect him to resign.
What if they want to keep Jones? That's a way to get rid of him. Boom.
No,
money.
He's a restricted free agent. They're going to tag him with something.
Free agent, you're right. I'm just trying to make sure. Whatever. Just shut up, Chase. I'm sick of it. I'm going back on mute. I'm going to let you guys deal with this one. I'm going to mute myself.
Oh, my God. Don't mute yourself. We love you, Stephie. Stop it. Oh my God, she's such a character and I love her. All right, so like the top candidate has to be Johnny Smith, right? Hunter Henry's close. Yeah. Do you guys have any other tight end that you wish a team would target over those two guys?
I want to hear Dustin talk about Jonnu a little bit.
Oh God, I love him. It was so frustrating to watch him this season, especially later in the season when the Titans decided to use every other single tight end on their team other than Jonnu. And I know there's a little bit of injury there, but that was so tough. Yeah, I love Jonnu. I'm trying to think of teams that could use a tight end where he would be useful. The Giants, no. They have Evan Ingram. He's
over here in the comments. For those of you that are listening, Steph still has not learned that we have actual listeners and not just live viewers. But yeah, Steph over there muted herself, but she put John to the Giants in the comments.
What do you mean you can't think of a team that needs a tight end?
Oh, there she is.
Yes, actually, I can. And I think that would be good.
The
I
Patriots.
think Arizona, go back to Arizona again. They could use a quality tight end on their team that would help open up for the wide receivers even more. And you got Kyler there that I think would. I mean, we've seen what Max Williams and Dan Arnold did this year with Kyler. So if they get a good quality tight end there, I think that would be a really nice fit.
Yeah, I like that take. I mean, New England needs a tight end as well. That's a big one.
I would very much.
Steph actually said that in the comments, by the way. So that makes sense. Washington might need a tight end, depending on if they feel like Logan Thomas is the right fit.
Logan Thomas is the truth.
Of course they think he's the right fit. What are you talking about?
So
I
hypothetically,
love Logan Thomas.
Okay, so why throw some respect on his name? They're not getting a tight end. They have a tight end.
what if Dallas moves on from Gallup and they need an upgrade at the tight end position? Because as much as I loved Blake Jarwin there, wouldn't you want a guy who's more athletic in that spot to kind of make up the difference, potentially?
It's pretty hot.
No, crazy.
Blake
I'm
Jarwin.
just going to keep talking higher until somebody says that I'm right.
I think it's awesome. I support you. And no one should ever and I do a show together is all I know.
Nothing would ever get done. Nothing would ever get done.
You literally need a baby.
It's like sitting there and hitting up your friends and you're like, hey, I gotta clean up my house. You wanna come hang out while we clean up the house, we can have a few beers, and then you know that by the end of it, you guys are playing video games or something. And there's no cleaning getting done.
Yeah,
there's no cleaning.
Who is gonna be the coach of whatever team.
I'm more proud of you two now for how you handled yourselves with Matt than I was an hour ago. And I was already pretty proud about how you did it. So I'm even more impressed now.
My bladder was full, and there was this person on that I knew I had to do. I'm like shaking, writing in the join our circle thing. Like, guys, I'm literally gonna pee my pants. Like, I
didn't see that.
It's seriously a problem. Like,
I was so busy coming up with questions off the top of my head that made things interesting because I did not script.
I pulled that one out of my ass, with the Ross one. Pretty good.
Oh.
Not bad.
You said you have a great one. You sent me an exclamation point.
That is a good one.
It was a good one.
Are you crazy? Okay, go back to G. I'm going back on mute because you guys are kind of.
What? All right, guys, we've been doing a 2-hour-long show. We haven't done one of these in a very, very long time. You guys are probably done. Let everybody know where to find you.
All right. Well, you can find our podcast at Drinking Fantasy on Twitter. Hit us up. We're always open in our DMs for you. And you can find me at FF Dusty Dog.
And me at Jake Trowbridge, because that's my name.
Jake, do you do things other than fantasy football? Because I feel like I've seen videos of you.
I don't think so. All I do is this and Twitter, and you might see inappropriate videos of me on our sister site, drinking and talking fantasy without the football. It's basically the exact same concept, but there are more whips and chains involved.
No, you have something else. Give us an impression before you leave. Give us an impression.
Damn it. Give me a suggestion. Wait, did you have somebody's a suggestion? I don't know. I can't do these off the top of my head. I can do a Morgan Freeman, okay.
Give us something. Let's go.
Give me something to work with.
I find I'm just so excited to be a part of the Fantasy Intervention Show. I'm almost too excited to finish this sentence, but I'll find a way. And I hope that you all listening subscribe, as they are some of the best folks in the industry. Thank you.
Love, man. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate you. We got to do it collaborative.
Thanks for having us.
Where did this come from? Keep it going, girl.
He said whips.
Oh, this is your new outro right there. I really did.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't tell you.
It's an original. She came up with that all by herself. She wrote the music, actually.
Did anybody actually make it through the entire show? That's what I want to know.
I hope so. If you did, tell us. I don't know. I probably will just. You're not getting anything, but I'm just interested.
We might come up with something. We're gonna come up with something.
We might.
Maybe we'll bring you on for a show. Anyways,
I'll send you a $10 Taco Bell gift card if you were on this entire show.
I just gave away one of those actually, but no, I appreciate you guys for coming in.
Yeah,
we appreciate you guys for listening.
I hope it find you, Dusty.
Oh no, this is a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. We should do this. We should do this again soon. It was actually really fun.
It was fun. I had a blast.
Absolutely.
You guys can find Stephie at Stephie Smalls with 2 L's. I said it this time. Ha ha ha.
I know. I'm fun.
Stephie Smalls with 2 L's. Stephie Smalls with 2 L's on Twitter.
Just normal. You could just say Stephie Smalls now. It's awesome.
No. I'm going to say it just like you did. You guys can also find me at FF_intervention. FF_intervention. You guys can find our group at join our circle _. Don't forget the underscore, because if you forget the underscore, you're going to end up in a knitting circle, not the fantasy intervention circle. We appreciate you guys. What?
I'm harassing them, so we might get that handle.
We're working on it. Thank you guys for listening. And thank you guys for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life. We're out.